Oh, bright. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video we are making, what are we making?
Steak, kale, and baked potato.
And little baby
gold
Yukon gold potatoes.
Yukon.
Is kind of perfect. We're going to do roasted kale. It's actually not just kale, it's kale, chard, and spinach mix from Trader Joe's. And
here goes the oil.
Do you like kale? And then we have olive oil, and then and over here we have the steak. So this is kind of a fast and friendly meal in the sense that it's all going to be cooked in the oven, except with the exception of searing the steak. So I can sear it, cook it all in the oven for about 20, well, probably the potatoes will probably need a little bit longer, but like 25, 30 minutes, depending on how fast the potatoes cook. So that will take the longest. No, you don't need a spoon like for that. Wait, one quick. And then while the pan cools after I sear it, then I can wash it and it'll be a very easy cleanup. So that's what's cool about this meal. So we're gonna start with some olive oil and just sprinkling it all over, like all over, yep, zigzag, all over.
How much?
And that's good, that's good. And what I like doing about this, well actually I have a pan here for the kale. And the only thing bad about it is that the kale I usually put on 2 trays, but there's only gonna be room for 3 trays in the oven. So normally I would probably, not normally, but what I would like to do for the potatoes are I have 2 pans here. This is gonna be for the steak, this is gonna be for the potatoes. And what was I gonna say? I'd rather toss it. Normally, when I do roasted vegetables, I spray the tray, put it on the tray, and then spray the top of the vegetables. But I think for potatoes, it's better if I actually toss it in oil. So I probably don't need to do this, but I'm gonna do it just for precaution. And that is, I'm going to spray this pan.
Can I hold the camera?
This spray is normally good, but this canister in particular, not so good. So I'm cooking this like I've never cooked it before, but I want to try something different and focus. And we're going to salt the tray. We're going to put the potatoes cut side down, and then we're gonna salt the top. So then it's like nicely salted around the whole thing. So.
It's gonna take a while.
Do you really have to do it? Just dump it on, and then that's how you want to do it? Exactly. Ain't nobody got time for that. So just go like this, and then flip them over. So while she's doing that, I'm going to. So she just finished that, and that's what that looked like. And what I'd like you to do is, can you sprinkle some salt on top of it? A layer of salt.
A lot of salt?
What we're gonna do here is...
Let's do a lot of salt.
This is how I do this. Oh, this kind of stinks. So normally what I do is I usually take the bag and can you bring the oil back? And I usually take the oil, I do oil in here and then kind of mix it up and then put it on the tray. But I've had these bags for maybe 2 weeks. 2 weeks? No, maybe over a week. Not 2 weeks, I think it was over a week. And some of them smell. And if you ever know what spinach smells like when it's rotten, it's horrible. This is borderline horrible. There are leaves that look like this. Focus. Look at you. Anyway, there are leaves that are waterlogged essentially and rotten, so I put it in the bowl that we already got dirty from oil, so that's kind of perfect. And taking out all of these slimy, stinky, waterlogged ones. And sometimes unlike
this one's red.
Sometimes unlike normal cooking shows, we don't have the most top-notch produce because you don't get to cook it right away, right? So I'm putting oil on this first batch. I have my hand gloves on because I rather not get my hand all oily. And I'll do it for the second batch. So sometimes what I do is I pour a little bit of oil on, toss it a little bit, and then pour a little bit more on. Like I said, normally I put this on 2 trays, and it's better to spread it out as much as you can, because when it cooks, it gets really crispy. But if there's a lot of layers, the middle layers don't get, and the middle and bottom layers don't get crispy. But because I don't have enough room in the oven, I'm just gonna have to do it this way. So this is what these two things look like. Again, I have to sear the steak, but while I was prepping the other stuff, because I wasn't able to do it earlier, I like letting this marinate, well actually get to room temperature first and also marinate a little bit. What I seasoned the steak with is this seasoning. It's called, it's McCormick Grill Mates hamburger seasoning, and I like this for beef. Seasoning for the potatoes, again, are olive oil and salt, and for kale, it is just olive oil. I don't need to salt the kale mixture because it is almost kind of like there's like salt inherently in the dark green, so that doesn't need salt. Not true for cauliflower or Brussels sprouts or broccoli, any of those sorts of things. Those I always salt, just not these dark greens. And if I'm cooking spinach on the stove, that's generally how I cook it, that also needs salt. So this, I'm going to put the potatoes on the bottom rack, and I'm going to put the kale mix on the top rack, leaving room for the steak over here on the bottom rack, and we are at 400 degrees. For the steak, I put the seasoning on, as well as put some olive oil on it to kind of sink in. Again, this thing is not great. So what I did was I sprayed, and the spray is not working, I sprayed the bottom of the pan just so the steak doesn't stick. I'm going to set it to high heat here, and I'm just going to sear it. Searing means that I'm just making it dark, making that like charcoaly top and bottom, and then it'll finish cooking in the oven. piece of steak was not that thick, it was pretty thin. I'm going to set the timer for probably maybe like 16 minutes. You might be a little horrified, and that's okay. You can adjust the temperature, or you can adjust the timer for as long as you want, however you like your meat. 16 minutes for that fairly thin slice of thin steak will, I'm hoping, get me to a medium well steak. If you like yours rarer, you can cook it for less time, like maybe like 12 minutes or something. But I prefer to eat my meat not bloody. And that is it. I still have the potatoes in the oven, but here is how these other things turned out. This is how the kale turned out. As you can see, it looks amazing. Here's the steak. And I think the potatoes can cook longer. It's kind of hard to overcook potatoes, and I like them kind of crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. So I think I'll just keep that in there for now until I set the table, get the kids off of the television, and I'm going to wash this. This is why I like to keep the potatoes in a little bit longer, because then we can get some nice golden colors. And this is the final